Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah al-ali al-azim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina wa nabiyyina Abil Qasim al-Mustafa Muhammad. Wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. La siyama baqiyatullah fil aradhin. Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-sharif. اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. We continue our study of Islamic theory of law. I shared in the group a link to a summarized translation of this part of Ma'arif al-Qur'an. Many years ago, I requested one of our brothers to translate this part into English for Message of Thaqalain, and also the next part on politics or governance. So you have the link for that. You can inshallah benefit. Our topic today is what's the difference between akhlaq and huquq, or between ethics and law. There are lots of interactions and overlapping here, but we can mention at least 5 differences. As I told you, some people in Qom, they have done their thesis on this. One is the fact that ethics governs all our actions, even our qualities of the soul. Any voluntary action is included. It can be about personal ethics or social ethics. Or in another way, we can classify it to about your relation with yourself, your relation with Allah, your relation with other people, your relation with other beings. So it's very comprehensive. There is no voluntary action unless it has ethical significance. It means that it can be discussed in akhlaq. Akhlaq has something to say about it. But law is about social actions and relations. So in law, we don't talk about your relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as such, or your relation with yourself. Anything that has impact on other people, other individuals, other members of the society, this is discussed in law. Number 2, in morality or ethics, there is no need for an external sanction. The main sanction is your own decision, your own desire to improve, your honesty, sincerity in becoming more ethical, more moral. But in law, we always need sanctions. For example, governments provide sanctions. Because if we have a law, but we leave it free to people and say, please observe this. These are the laws for export, import, business transaction, deriving, employers, employee, those who want to make building, those who want to produce food. We have lots of laws, but it's up to you. Please observe them. It's not going to work. There is a need for sanction. So you should be questioned if you fail to observe. But in ethics, there might be sanction. For example, we believe in the reward or punishment. But there is no worldly sanction that someone comes and says, why you didn't do this ethical, practice normally. Unless something has a legal aspect as well, then that's different. So the main sanction in ethics is your own desire to be ethical. Actually, some people in moral philosophy, some people have said that having sanctions is against the nature of morality, because then you would not do it voluntarily. We say no, it's possible that you have sanction and still do it voluntarily. It can encourage you. We believe in reward and punishment, but still many people don't observe it. Yes, if, for example, as soon as I do something wrong, I am punished and, I am beaten. Yes, maybe then morality goes very low, because there is no way not to be unethical. Morality has value when you could be other way around. Yeah, otherwise. So we have no issue with sanction, but as general, issue. But we accept that, yes, morality as much as possible should not be left to government or police, etc. For example, like religion itself, even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not made everything wajib. There are lots of recommendations, and some of these recommendations are very important, but still they are recommendations. Like Salatul Layl is very important, but it's not made wajib, because people should do it voluntarily. Only those very fundamental things which, if we don't observe them, can damage the whole situation, are made wajib. The rest are through recommendations. So this was the second difference. There is no legal sanction in ethics, but there is in law. Number 3, in ethics, values are universal and are permanent, eternal. We don't believe in relativism in ethics. We believe there are values that are universal. We believe slavery is always a problem. Not that, for example, today is a problem, but 100 years ago was not a problem. Or, for example, for the northern states of United States, they had the idea that slavery was wrong. Southern states said slavery is not wrong. We don't believe that geography or economical condition, because in the south they had lots of farms, they needed labor. We don't think these things justify the moral side of it. And this is why Islam regulated slavery and with lots of rulings managed to stop it. Or, for example, honesty, keeping your promises, all these things are universal. But normally in law it's difficult to have something universal and permanent. There can be changes. Circumstances change, and then laws also may change. Yes, some main principles can remain the same. Like, in Islamic Sharia, we have some things which are fixed and something which may be temporarily changed. Who has the authority? Of course, that's another issue. Not that every person or every even mujtahid has authority, but it's possible that maybe even for some years, not always, Hajj is stopped. Imam Khomeini had in his, I think was letter to Ayatollah Qadiri, if I'm not mistaken, that Islamic governance, legitimate Islamic governor may say, for example, for a few years we should not go to Hajj. Like, for example, what happened during COVID also. That although legislation was not cancelled or abrogated, but was not possible to go to Hajj. So changes in law can happen, but in ethics, no. You may say, what about, for example, those ethical instructions that have exceptions? You say telling truth is not always right. Sometimes you should not tell the truth. You should hide it. If you tell the truth and would lead to a big fitna, big chaos, big mischief. For example, if you tell the truth, maybe leads to divorce between husband and wife. If you tell the truth, maybe it would break the relation between father and child. Or you are a doctor. If you tell the truth to, for example, media about your patient, it may not be right unless there is consent of the patient, and maybe even in some circumstances, even the consent of patient is not enough. So what about this? Why you say moral rules are universal and general? We say yes, moral rules are universal and general, and this doesn't contradict with that. The problem is that you thought telling truth is as such good, and therefore you think there are exceptions. But telling truth has some conditions. Or you can say telling truth, if everything being equal, is good. But there can be some conditions or some overriding factors that can affect our judgment. And this is always the case. If you know those so-called exceptions, you would realize that they are actually general rules. And everyone in that condition should observe it. Okay, it's not that it's exceptions, and these exceptions are unknown to us, and we don't know how it happened. Just we saw that a case came that here telling truth is not good. No, everything has a reason, and if you formulate your rules properly with all the factors which bear on the judgment, then there is no exception. The next difference is that in law, normally there is obligation only. Normally. For example, we say, if you want to drive, these are the things that you must observe. Or if you don't have driving license, you cannot drive, you must not drive. If you want to make a building, these are the rules you must observe. If you want to employ people, these are the rules, and then the rest you are free. If you want to produce a product, this is the procedure. You need permits, you need to observe certain rules, then the rest is okay. Okay, is obligatory. Even if they say, for example, you have right and it's up to you to claim, still there is ilzam here, there is taklif, there is obligation. You may say, but I may not want to. For example, a wife can claim dowry from her husband, mutalaba, yeah, mahr can be requested, even doesn't need to the time of divorce. Some people think mahr is at the time of divorce. No, as soon as they get married, then it becomes necessary for man to give if the woman, the wife, asks for it. Or maybe the wife doesn't want to ask. But we say there is ilzam here. Ilzam is in what? In that the husband must give whenever is requested. Sometimes you have rights you may not claim. For example, as employee, you have right for leave, paid leave. Yeah, مرخصی با حقوق. Maybe you don't want to use it. Okay. They don't force you to use it, but they force the employer to provide you with this option. Okay? So even when there is a right that you may or may not claim, there is obligation. There is taklif for the other parties to observe, employer, government, etc. But in akhlaq, we have obligatory rules and recommended rules. We have lots of things in akhlaq that are recommended. If you want to go to higher levels of purity or perfection or closeness to Allah, you are recommended to observe these things. But it's not wajib. The fifth difference is that the aim of obligations in law is to secure your worldly interest, especially in society, social worldly interests of members of the society. Security is needed, welfare, education, etc. But akhlaq is not just about worldly interest. Akhlaq aims as self-flourishment, self-development, perfection, closeness to God. It's not just about worldly benefits. So you see, there are big differences between akhlaq and huquq, or between ethics and law. Another thing that has to be observed is that in law, normally, I will mention, and I think I referred to this last week. In law, normally, there is no attention to the intention. Why you do this? You must do it. If you do it, they are satisfied. Are you doing this out of pleasure, or you feel you hate it but you have to do it, or you want to show off? Law is not concerned in the reasons, in your intention. You give your, for example, taxes. You like it, you don't like it. You are sincere, you are not sincere. It doesn't make that much difference for law. You have to give it. But akhlaq has great emphasis on the reason for doing something, on intention. To the extent that we say, an-niyatu asasul amal. Intention is the basis of action. Innama al-a'malu bin-niyat. So the big difference between someone who does something because he is forced or because he likes. Even in Islamic, taxation, like khums, zakat, kafarat, all need to be given with intention of taqarrub ila Allah, seeking nearness to Allah. Because it's not just to help the poor, it is to help yourself to get rid of hubbut dunya. And without being sincere, you don't get rid of hubbut dunya. Some people actually, because of hubbut dunya, maybe we should try to show off and get the attraction of people. They want, for example, people to vote for them. They want people, to do business with them. So in akhlaq and also to some extent in Islamic law, niyyah is very important, but in the worldly law, not that much. Yes. For example, sometimes in the legal cases in the court, they may try to understand the intention. For example, if someone had a car accident and someone was killed, he hit someone was passing by and killed him. Intention is very important. Intention here is very important. Did he want to kill him? Can you mute? Please? Intention is very important. Did this driver want to kill someone? Did he didn't bother, or it just happened? For example, maybe he didn't want to kill someone, but he was carelessly driving, or he didn't have driving license. They can consider this as semi-intentional or shibh amd, for example. Sometimes intentional, sometimes it's semi-intentional, sometimes it's not intentional at all. It's just accident. It happens. So yes, in these cases in the court, the judge may try to understand what was the intention. Or sometimes, for example, if someone has done something for the first time, they may say maybe he didn't know. If repeatedly, may say, oh, he's deliberately doing this, But generally speaking, they don't bother about the intention. The main thing is that you observe the law as it is. So these are 5 differences between law and ethics that the late Ayatollah Misbah mentions here. Inshallah, I will stop hopefully earlier, so that if you have other points and studied and come across other points, we can inshallah discuss. Now, the next thing is to explore more the concept of huquq. Of course, here I have to say huquq, because if I translate it into English, then these would not be different meanings of the same term. So I have to say huquq, but inshallah I translate each meaning separately, so that you understand that these are classifications of the same thing. So he says huquq has different technical terms. We only mentioned 2 technical I said technical term or technical meaning. Huquq has different technical meanings. We only mentioned 2 technical meanings of huquq. Huquq is sometimes used for the whole body of legal or practical laws of a society. The whole code of law that governs actions of members of a society. what they have to do or they have not to do, everything. Ought not, all the things that they have to do. In this case, we can say law. Huquq can be translated as law. Here, huquq is not plural form for haq, which is right, and then rights. No. Here they consider the whole legislative instructions or regulations, all of them as law of that society. So they consider as one unit which has different parts. It's like shar' in Islamic culture, or tashri' legislation. When we say shar' or sharia, we mean the entire code of law that we have. Sometimes they say Roman law, sometimes say Islamic law. There can be different types of law in the world. The second technical meaning is law, or huquq, not in the sense of law, huquq in the sense of rights. Rights that a person or a group of people or maybe a social entity may have. Sometimes rights are rights of government or governor, hakim or hukuma. They have some rights over people. People also have sometimes rights over each other, or they may have rights over government, or rights over your institution. An institution may have rights over you as employee, as a staff, etc. So this is the second meaning of huquq. Now you see that in Farsi we can say huquq has two meanings, but in English I cannot say law has two meanings. I have to say huquq has two meanings. Sometimes it's used as law, sometimes as rights. Before we go more to the one which is about the rights, explain it further, we have to explain the difference between the first meaning and qanun. I told you, in Arabic countries, for the faculty of law, which we say Danishkade Huquq, they say Kulliyatul Qanun. Yeah, they say Qanun. So, Qanun is different from law, although there are similarities. The difference is that Qanun is very broad. You can use Qanun even for takween, for existence, for generation of beings, and for legislation. For example, we have laws of nature, laws of physics, laws of chemistry, laws of philosophy. Even we have sunan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and some of these sunan are about takween, or about rububiyyah, not necessarily about tashri'. For example, the fact that the tyrants who become very stubborn and inordinate taghut, sunnah in this world is that they will be defeated. This is not law of legislation. For example, Quran says, whenever we want to destroy, إذا أردنا أن نهلك قرية أمرنا مترفيها ففسقوا فيها. This amr is not amr tashri'i, that Allah asked them to do fasad. This is takwini. In the series on Diwan Universal Laws, we have explained. So sometimes qanun is used in takwini, generative, existential sense, sometimes in legislative. So this is different from law that we are talking about. Another thing is that law can be used for the things which are legislated, positive law, or qawanin mawzu', things which are legislated, or things which have gradually been established as a norm in society, like customs, like urf. Urf is one of the sources of law. In some countries, many things are run according to their urf. Maybe they don't even have written constitution. But normally when they say qanun, they mean something which is legislated by an authority, specifically, like maybe God, maybe parliament, maybe king, someone who has authority. So there is a difference between qanun and huquq in the first sense. But we can say we used sometimes huquq in the sense of law. The second is law in the sense of, huquq in the sense of rights. Now, let us explore more the concept of right. In Arabic, haq means something which has thubut, a kind of thubut, a kind of existence, and a kind of, you can say, being established. If it is used for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as al-haq, it means that it exists, but it's self-sufficient and it's giving existence to other things. In this sense, we cannot use al-haq for creatures. We can say this person exists, that fact exists. إن الجنة والنار حق والوعد والوعيد بهما حق. Yeah, but al-haq ذلك بأن الله هو الحق. Al-haq means something which exists and everything else goes back to it. In any case, the literal meaning of haq is this. And in the Quran, when haq is used, is not used in the sense of rights, no, at least most of the case. So normally it's not used in the sense of rights. But for example, when in Hadith or Risalatul Huquq of Imam Zainul Abidin, we talk about rights of parents over children or vice versa, rights of teachers, for example, over students, vice versa, etc., Hakim al-Mahkum, etc. Even rights of your own organs over yourself. Your eyes have some rights over you. Your hands have some rights over you. Okay? Your ears have some rights over you. Then this is different from haq in the sense of subut. But there is a connection. What's the connection? Every right must originate from a reality, at least, or maybe a cluster of realities. In Islam, everything, even our Sharia, everything is based on reality, because we believe in the fact that الأحكام تابعة للمصالح والمفاسد الواقعية. Ahkams are subordinate to real interest and harm. This is about ahkam, let alone about rights. So it's not based on our decision or parliament's decision or government's decision or king's decision that, for example, there is a set of rights for parents over children or vice versa. It's based on reality. My personal understanding is this, because I was reflecting on this, that there is a reality, and that reality requires some people, some mukallafin, either as personal mukallafin or some social entities, to do certain actions with respect to that reality. For them, there is taklif. They have to do it in this way. Then, for someone who is on the other side, that towards that person, towards whom these people have to act certain way, we say that person has rights. For example, this is my understanding, of course, I am not saying everyone accepts this. For example, I have eyes. Allah has given me eyes. What should I do with these eyes? There are some expectations from me about these eyes. I have some taklif, some obligations with respect to these eyes. For example, the first thing, I should protect them. I should protect them physically. I should also protect them from haram. So these are rights of my eyes. Means I have certain duties, certain actions to do with respect to them. Now I can say my eyes have rights over me to do these things. Otherwise, eyes are not human beings that can have, rights. Rights must be for something that can claim. Water has some rights over us, and this river here has some rights over us. What does it mean? Water is not a human being or intelligent being. It means that we have certain responsibilities towards this water. We can say this water has rights over us. So this is why in Islam we expand rights. Even we can use it for things which are not intelligent. Even we can use it for future. We say next generations have rights over us. Where are next generations? They are not yet born. They are not yet existing. How they can have rights when they are not yet born? And we say it means that we have certain taklif, certain obligations on our shoulder right now, which affect them. Then from this, we can translate it into language of rights and say they have rights over us. This is my understanding. So, haqq right has been very much discussed. Ayat Misbah says we don't want to go into all the ideas and opinions. He says, according to him, we can simply say that right, I say it in Farsi and I try to explain. حق امریست اعتباری که برای کسی بر دیگری وضع می شود. له and علی. حق امری است اعتباری که برای کسی، این براکت له، بر دیگری، این براکت علی، وضع می شود. means حق is an issue which is اعتباری. It's not حقیقی, it's not real in the sense that you can point, say, this is Mr. So-and-so, and next to him there is a right. I can point at something and say this is right. This is a kind of assumption, but not unreal assumption. The whole discussion about اعتباری و تکوینی, and alhamdulillah, with some of you we studied Risalatul Wilaya, and we talked about what are اعتبارiyat, and normally these اعتبارiyat are in the context of society, like milkiyat, ownership. Ownership is اعتباری, means something that we suppose. So as I said, it can have real impacts and real, reasons, but the main thing is that it doesn't have independent existence. So it's something اعتباری, something that in the context of social life can be understood and has two sides, lah and alay. For, upon. We don't say against, for, upon. Right for someone over someone else. But doesn't need to be individuals. As I said, can be حقيقي or حقوقي. For example, right of someone over social group, or a political party, or a business firm, or government. Also the other way, both lah and alay can be individuals or groups or legal entities. So we have three elements here. Man lahul haq, the one who has haq. What he says, man, he doesn't say ma, because in the first place, man has to be for someone who has aql, intelligence. But as I said, we can expand it even to non-intelligent things like, eyes, a hand, water, air, soil, all have rights. But this is expansion. This is tosa. Number two, man alayhi al-haq, the one that has to observe this right for someone or something, is upon him or her to observe. Three, muta'allaqul haq, what this right belongs to. What type of right is this? Is right of ownership? Is right of governance? I have right over this car, means I can use it for driving, whatever. So these are three elements in every right, and as we said, it can be for people or for social legal entities. He says in fiqh, sometimes instead of saying like social entities, etc., we say jahat. For example, we say masjid has some rights. Masjid is not a human being, but we say masjid has some rights. For example, for a certain distance, people should observe not to do anything which is in conflict with the function of masjid. They shouldn't, create trouble for masjid. This is about haq, a definition of haq. He says, based on this, we realize that haq is one of those concepts which are relational. Mafahim zatul idafah, or you can say idafi, or nisbi. Nisbi, not relative. It's better to say relational. Because we have mafahim which are nafsi, means they don't involve in their essence relation. And we have mafahim which are idafi. For example, water is mafhum nafsi. Hayat, life, is nafsi. But ilm is idafi. Because ilm needs ma'lum. Yeah? Alim, ma'lum. Qudrat, power. Qadir, maqdur. So some mafahim involve relation. This is why I call it relational. Some are nafsi, means non-relational. Haq is relational. Because there must be always man lahu al-haq wa man alayhi al-haq. The one who has right or rights, and those upon whom there are rights to observe. Haq has implications. One of the most obvious implications of haq is intifa'. In Farsi he says bahravari, to benefit from it. The one who has rights for something means can benefit from it. It's the minimum. And there is ikhtisas wa imtiyaz, means there must be some kind of benefit that only this person or this entity that has haq can benefit from. Yeah. For example, I have a beautiful garden. Maybe from outside you can look at it and enjoy. Maybe every day you pass by and spend a few minutes looking at it, enjoying. This kind of benefit you can benefit, everyone else can benefit. But there are some types of benefits that only the owner can have. Yeah. If we have, for example, a good, member of the society, everyone benefits. This is not what we are calling. But, for example, if this person is child of someone or wife of someone, there are some benefits, some relations that are exclusive, ikhtisas. Okay? So, haq brings some exclusive benefits. This is the essence or the core meaning of haq. Then Ayatollah Misbah tries to explain difference between haq and some concepts which are close to haq but different, so that we can better understand the meaning of haq. For example, the difference between right and milk. What is owned? What is your property? What is the difference between your right and your property? He says, in haq, there is a relation between man lahu al-haq wa man alayhi al-haq. Always there are two sides of relation. But in milkiya, you own this house, for example. You own this car. You own this book, this computer. It's not directed towards someone else. You don't own it against someone else, in the sense that it's not that someone else is part of the meaning of ownership. It's only you and the subject. Muta'allaqul milkiyya, mamluk. But in haqq we said there are always three things. Haqqul walid alal walad. Yeah? But we cannot say haqqu sahib al-bayt ala a particular person. No, anyone else has to observe this haqq. It's not with respect to a particular person. Haqq is about a specific people or in groups or entities. But milkiyya is your haqq, but in a general way, without specifying the other party, the other side. So you have milkiyya, and because of milkiyya, then you have a right over this that others have to observe. Also, he says we use milkiyya, ownership, when you can use what you own in different ways. His expression is har gune istifade. You can use it any way you like, any way you want. If you own something, you can use it takwinan, like for example, if the fruit is apple, you own it. You can drink it. You can eat it, or extract juice, drink the juice. You can smell it, or you can sell it. It's etibari. So either takwinan you use it, or etibaran you use it by selling and making some money, or you can gift it. So you have different ways of using this apple. In general, or in essence, no one can limit you what you can do with this apple. Yes, sometimes the society may say, yes, you are the owner, you have ability to use it as you like, but we want to restrict your rights. For example, you have a piece of land. You cannot make house as you like. Sometimes say, in this zone, you cannot make house. Or you can make house with these specifications. The size should be this much. The appearance should be the height, how many floors. They may restrict. But these are exceptions. Generally speaking, ownership is not one right or two rights that the owner has. It's very general. Any benefit is included. But the right is normally very specific. Say right for this, right for this. Very specific. Then he talks about haq and taklif, right and obligation. These are like two sides of the same coin. Whenever there is right for someone over others, then those others have taklif towards this person, the one who has the right. And these come together. You cannot have rights without taklif, and you cannot have taklif without rights. Also, if you want someone to provide you with something, you have to also do something. For example, if you expect from government to do something for us, Then government also has some rights over us, and we have some taklif towards it. So mutual taklif, mutual rights. Then he says, it's a very good sentence. I explained it already, but let me read for you his own wording. باید توجه داشت که حق اختیاری است و تکلیف الزامی. حق is voluntary. Taklif, obligation, is necessary, is obligatory. What does it mean? It means that the one who has the rights may decide not to use it, not to claim it. But those who have taklif, they must observe their taklif. They must bring what is obligatory. کسی که در موردی حق دارد می تواند از آن استفاده بکند یا نکند. The one who has right about certain thing can use it or not use it, benefit from that حق or not. ولی دیگران تکلیف دارند که حق وی را محترم بشمارند و از این تکلیف گریزی ندارند. گریز و گزیری ندارند. Others have to recognize, acknowledge his rights, and there is no escape from this taklif, this obligation. So they must observe this. Then there is a difference between haq and hukm. And there are different meanings of, two meanings of hukm. I think I stop here because I want also to see if you have something to add to the discussion about difference between haq and qanun. What inshallah we are going to do next week is we are going to explain the difference between haq and hukm, and then inshallah see how the term haq is used in the Quran and Hadith, and then inshallah we talk about haq and social justice, and then about the origin of haq. Where does haq, originate? Inshallah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.